Welcome back to my channel. My name is Choma of Choma Stitches. Today we're going to be sewing a princess dart gown with a V neckline and a bell sleeve. And if this is what you're interested in learning, please keep watching. And if at this point you've not subscribed to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe and also like this video. I also like to hear from you, so don't forget to leave your comments in the comment sections, or whatever questions you might have, leave it in the comment section. I would like to hear from you. So let's get on with the drafting of the princess dart bustier and then the sewing process proper. The full length of the gown we're making is 38 inches, but the half length is going to be 17 inches. Okay, and I would like to draft the half length with a half of an inch that I'm going to be using to attach the upper bodice to the lower bodice. And when I'm drafting the lower bodice, I'll also do the same thing. I'll add half of an inch that I will use to attach the lower bodice to the upper bodice. So instead of 17 inches, I'm going to be marking 17.5 inches. And then for our basic block bodice, we are going to be dividing our box into two. This part is going to be the half of the front and the other is going to be the half of the back. And you can use your largest part of your measurement to do this. But I'm just going to be using 10 inches. So I'm going to be marking 10 inches on both sides. Now this is 10 inches and this is 10 inches, and then we have extra 1 inch for the zip allowance on the back side. And now I'm going to be taking out the difference between the front and the back half length. Now when you take your measurement, because of the bust that is in front, the front half length tends to be longer than the back half length. Although in some people's cases that is not true. The back and the front might be the same measurement. So but if yours is if you fall into the category where the front half length and the back half length is the same, you don't need to take out this difference. Okay, so for me, I'm going to be taking out a difference of 2 inches from the back piece. So for my shoulder, I'm going to be using 7 inches. And then I'm going to come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slanting for the back. And then from this 1 inch, you're going to be marking out what's your armhole. And to get your armhole, you divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 inches. 35 inches divided by 6 is about 5.83, and then when you add 1.5 inches, you get 7.3. So from this 1 inch slanting, I'm going to come down by 7.3 inches. Now, this would mean from here to here, this is 8.3. I'm just going to transfer it on this side. I'm going to transfer 8.3 to this side because the front half shoulder slanting is going to be 1.5 inch. So first you indicate your shoulder measurement 7 inches. Then you come down and you mark out your 1.5 inches. Now we have a video on how to draft the basic the princess dart bustier on this channel, so you can also check that out. So I call this place the armhole, because you might not use this place as your chest line unless you are making a dress that you want that is going to be sleeveless and it's going to stop directly under your armpits. That is when you can call this your chest line. But this is not going to be my chest line because I will have to move the chest line upper. And so for the neckline, I'm going to be using a neckline of 3.5 inches. Okay, you can divide the bust measurements by 12 to get your neckline. But for ease or for the design you are trying to do, you can now extend it. And for the depth for the back, I'm going to be using 1 inch. So I'll be slanting this to meet the 1 inch shoulder slanting. Okay, I'll do the same thing here. Now, like I said, the front is going to have a plunging neckline, and so for the front neck, for the front, I'm going to come down by say 7.5 inches, and I'm going to be connecting it. And now to curve out the armhole, I'm going to go up. For this one, I'm going to divide it into two. For the back piece, divide it into two. I'm going to go in by half of an inch, connect the half of an inch to the shoulder slanting, and then use my curved ruler to curve the armhole from here. And then from the front piece, I'm going to go up by 3 inches I'm going to come in from the 3 inches, half of an inch. And then I'm going to be using my curved ruler as well. Now this is our basics that you all know already. So for the front dart, I'm going to be using the nipple to nipple measurement, and for this is 4 inches, so I'm going to mark out 4 inches. Shoulder to the bust measurement, for this I'm working with 10 inches. And then from the shoulder to the under bust, which is 13.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to mark out 13.5 inches for the front part. I'm going to be imputing the nipple to nipple measurement, that's the bust point, 4 inches. That's 8 inches divided by 2, 4 inches. So I'm marking it with the bust. This is for our dart. I will do the same thing for the back piece. Then take out your dart. I'm going to use a dart of 0.75 on both sides, which will make it 1.5 inch dart. Okay, and then for the back tightening, I'm going to come out by half of an inch for the back piece, and I'm going to slant it all the way to the chest line or a little bit above the chest line. This is going to help to avoid gaping at the back of the dress because there's going to be a zipper. Okay, so let me extend the neckline all the way to the zipper so we can know where we're cutting it off from. Now 35 inches divided by 4 is 8.75. I'm going to include 8.75 here. And then for the waistline, waist 29 inches divided by 4 is going to be 7.2 inches plus the 1.5 inch dart. We're having 8.75 as well. So I'm going to mark out 8.75 as well. I'm just going to connect the straight lines. So now we have the back piece. And then for the front piece, I'm going to be taking out the same 1.5 inch dart on the waistline. So I'm going to be marking 0.75 here and 0.75 here. I'll come here to the under bust. This is the under bust, by the way, under bust, and this is the bust. And here is the waist. And then from the under bust, I'm going to come out by 0.75 inch on the center front. This is the center front, CF, and this is the side front, SF. And then from the side front, I'm going to come out by 1.25 inches, thereby making the under bust dart a complete 2 inches dart. Okay, so I'm just going to use my straight ruler to mark this down like so. And then I'm going to be connecting this from the bust. I'm going to mark this to connect this one like so. Now from the bust point, I'm going to come out by 0.25 so that I will not have a pointy line when I'm connecting the bust to the under bust. Because I have other tutorials on this channel on princess dart bustier drafting, I am going to be focusing more on the bell sleeve drafting and the sewing process. Also, I have so many videos on this channel on how to draft your basic bustier and how to take out your bust dart and to cut out your pants and transfer to fabric. Do well to check them all out in the description box where we'll leave the link. First, we're going to be drafting the basic sleeve, and then we can alter our basic sleeve to a bell sleeve. The full length of the sleeve we're going to be working with is 23 inches. So I'm going to mark out 23 inches. Next, we're going to backing out the box of the sleeve we are going to be working with. To get the box of the sleeve we are going to be working with, where we'll be drafting our basic sleeve, we're going to be dividing the bust measurement by 6 and adding 1.5 inches to it. So bust 35 divided by 6 will give us 5.833 plus 1.5 is going to give us 7.3. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out 7.3 like so, and I'll roll it to the end. Now we're going to be creating the armhole box. And to get that, you divide your bust measurement by 12, and for 35 inches divided by 12 you get 2.9, but I'm going to be working with 3 inches approximately. And now I'm going to be marking out a slanted line away from this end to the other end of this marking, and I'm going to find the center of this marking. So what I have here is 8 inches, so the center obviously is here. And so I'm going to go up here by 0.25 and come down by 0.25. You can take your tape and measure this to be sure you are marking it out right. Now, to indicate what part of the pattern is going to be for the front part of the sleeve and the part that's going to be the back part of the sleeve, I'm going to be using 2 different markers to distinguish it. So for the upper part of the sleeve, that is going to be the back part of the sleeve, I'm going to be using my blue marker, and I'm going to connect this line to the top of the marking, and then I'm going to come here and I'll bring it down to this end. And then for the front part of the sleeve, I'm going to be using my red marker, and I'm going to be marking it from the 0.25 I marked under. So I'm going to connect it as well to the end of the sleeve, like so. And then I'm going to mark it down to the end of the sleeve this way. So right now we have this place to be the front part of the sleeve, and this side is going to be the back part of the sleeve. I hope that is clear. So from here I am going to go ahead and input my measurement. Now first I can mark out my shoulder to my elbow measurement, which is 12 inches. I can also indicate the shoulder to my bicep. I'm using 7 inches, and you can also come here and mark out maybe an 8 inches. Now these markings I'm making is for if you want to draft a basic sleeve. Okay, like I said, we're going to draft a basic sleeve, and then we're going to alter it to get our bell sleeve. Now if this was going to be a basic sleeve, like I said, now you're going to be inputting all your measurements: your elbow divided by 2, your bicep divided by 2, and your cuff area divided by 2. That's where you input it. But what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to come down here and mark 6 inches. Like I said, what we are drafting is a bell sleeve, and from this 6 inches I'm just going to connect it all the way to the armhole. Now this is the sleeve I'm working with. Okay, I can go ahead and cut out this, but before I cut it out, I'm going to be dividing this pattern into 3, and I'm going to divide it into 3 so that I can do the slash and spread method for our bell sleeve. Okay, so I'm going to measure what I have here. This is 6, so I'm going to divide it into 3. I have 2 and 2, so I'm dividing it into 2 on each side. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll this line straight all the way. Now as you can see, I roll this to the back part of the sleeve. Okay, I roll it to the back part of the sleeve. Because the sleeve is not going to be fitted, you may not need to differentiate which part of it will be front or back. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the pattern so that we can do our slash and spread. So I'm going to be cutting here open, but I'm going to cut it on top of the fabric we're going to be using. So let me bring out the print we're going to be using for this. Now, whenever you want to make a flare, cutting a flare can consume a lot of fabric. So if you want to manage your fabric, this is one method you can use. I'm just going to be holding as one selvage of the dress, one end of the fabric. From this end, I'm just going to be holding it on this side, and I'm going to pull it all the way to match the selvage on this side. Now this method is going to help me manage my fabric, and I won't be using as many fabric as I would have been using if I don't use this method. Okay. So now that I've folded it this way, I can go ahead and refold it again like so, matching here to this end. So this is it. So what I'm going to do now is bring my sleeve and place it here like so, and then we are going to start cutting and spreading it. So I'm going to cut it open on the 2 lines I have made in the center. Now I've pinned down the first one. I am just going to open up this one. You can open this as wide as your fabric can take. So this is it. So at this point, my bell sleeve, if you want your bell sleeve to be If you want the sleeve to be equal from one end to the other, this is where you come and you connect this like so to give you an equal marking, okay, so that the sleeve will be equal. But I want this place to be more pointy. I want here to be obviously pointier, like more obvious that it is longer than this side, okay. And so for that, what I'm going to do is mark out my allowance. So from here, the allowance I have is about 1 inch. I'm going to come here and mark out 1 inch. Now this is to guide me so that the pattern will still be straight. Now I'm going to connect this sewing allowance first, and then I'm going to roll it straight to wherever the fabric ends. And then from there, I am going to start curving it like so to come and meet here. You can use your straight ruler all the way down. And this is it. So when I cut out this now, this place is going to be obviously longer than here. Okay, so you can use more fabric, as much fabric as you can use that you want to achieve the same purpose. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the pattern I need. Also, don't forget to add your 1/2 inch allowance at the edge here, where you're going to be joining this sleeve to the dress that we're joining it to. And this is the sleeve. To draft the skirt pattern, I'm just going to measure from the waistline to the hip line is supposed to be 8 inches, and because I'm going to be leaving 1/2 inch to join the lower bodice to the upper bodice, I'm going to be marking 8.5 inches. Now hip 41.5 inches divided by 4 is going to be 10.37, so I'm going to be marking 10.4. And then I will add my 1.5 inch sewing allowance. And then for the waist, 29 inches divided by 4 is going to be 7.25 without that, and I'm going to be adding 1.5 inch for the sewing as well. And now for the pencil effect on the down part, we don't want it to be too pencil so that you can walk comfortably, okay, very important. So I have 10.4 here. So if I take out 2 inches, I'm going to be having 8.4. So I'm going to come down here and mark 8.4. I will extend it by 1.5 inch as well for the sewing allowance. So I'm going to be using my ruler to connect all this. This is the pattern for the skirt with the sewing allowance included. I'm just going to pin it, and then I will cut it out and use it to cut out the back pattern. So I've cut it out, leaving our 1 inch zip allowance at the back. So I'm going to open up the zip allowance. I'm going to be taking out the 1/2 inch from this zip allowance for the zip tightening. We did it on the upper body, so we should repeat it at the lower bodies as well. So from the waistline, I'm going to come down by 4 inches. I'm going to mark 4 inches down. So I'm going to slant this 1/2 inch to meet the 4 inches. This does not affect your sewing allowance, your 1 inch sewing allowance at all. So now I am also going to do further tightening so that the zip at the back will not gape. Now all these are very important, especially if you have a back that slopes inwards. Maybe you are curving your back is well curved in. All this is very important, okay? So what I'm going to do from the zipper, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. From the back at the zip part, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and I'm going to be using my ruler to curve in this 1 inch. You can curve it in towards the center. I will do the same thing for the front. I'm going to come down by 1 inch for the front. This is to avoid the folding and the gaping around the front part. And I'm going to also use my ruler to curve it towards the center as well, towards the dart line basically, or a little beyond the dart line. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting out these parts. And so I've transferred it all to fabric, as you can see, adding the 1.5 inch sewing allowance on the sides for the upper bodice as well. So I'm here to cut out this place. I'm still debating whether I want it to be this low. That's why I've not cut it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. So what I'm going to do now is iron my stay on this, and I'm going to cut out the lining pieces exactly the same way. And for the skirt part, I'm going to be making the lining pieces 1 inch shorter than the skirt part so that we can turn it inside out from here. And then this is the piece I'm going to be using to do the wrapper illusion effect. Oh, I forgot to mention, this dress is also going to have a wrapper illusion effect in front. So this is more than a yard. This is like a yard and a few inches that I'm going to be using to do the wrapper effect. So I'm going to be hemming here, and I will hem one of the selvages because the other one is going to be inside the dress. So this is the bustier. I've sewn and ironed the bustier, as you can see, and when you iron your bustier, open up the seam line so that it will relax properly. So at this point, I'm thinking I want to still go down a bit more on the opening, on the plunging neckline, and so I'm going to do that with the lining piece on it. So I'm going to go in by 1 inch. I'm going to go in 1 inch inside. So I'm going to come here and I will mark it out. You can use a straight ruler to connect this. So from here, I'm just going to make my connection. Okay. Now what I'm doing here, you can place them together and do it so that both sides will be equal. So I'm going to cut out this part now. So now we're going to go ahead and hem the neckline, and I've also taken out the darts. I've taken out the darts for the back pieces. I'm going to be joining it main fabric to main fabric, lining piece to lining piece. I have joined it lining piece to lining piece, main fabric to main fabric. So now I am going to go ahead and hem and sew the neckline. I'm going to go ahead and sew the neckline both for the back piece and for the front piece. So I have joined the lower bodice to the upper bodice here, and this is it from the inside, concealing the sewing inside. And I like the depth of the neckline now. It looks better. I prefer it this deep. Okay, and this is what I've done. I hem the edge by sewing it inside. So I'm going to do the same thing for the back pieces. I've sewn the neckline for the back pieces, so I'm going to go ahead and sew this in reverse. So when I turn it inside out, it is going to look as clean as this. I've ironed it. Iron at every stage, very important. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew the zip allowance. So the zip is going to be stopping here, and so I'm going to sew with the zip allowance. I'm going to sew the 1-inch zip allowance and stop here, because I can extend it all the way to here, because I'm going to be adding a slit, and we're going to be adding a pleated slit to it. So I'm going to show us how to make a pleated slit. So let's go ahead and sew here first. I'm going to sew here, overlock it, and then I'm going to make a loose stitch from here down to show us the sewing allowance. Okay, so this is it. Here is the pleat I'm going to be using. So you make your pleat longer than the opening you have. The fabric I have is about 10 inches, while the opening we have is 8 inches. Okay, so this is like 2 inches higher than the pleat. You can do it higher than that, 2 inches higher or 1 inch higher, or even half an inch, but just make sure it is higher than the place where the pleat is going to stop, and make sure to back stitch there. And then I have a loose stitch that runs straight, so I'm now opening it like this so I can attach it. Okay, so you're going to take the right side of the fabric, the right side facing this way, and I'm going to go ahead and sew. I'm going to pick one part of the sewing allowance, I'm going to sew it, and then I'm going to come here and sew the other side. Okay, so this is it. So I have attached it. This is it. I've sewn here this way, and I've sewn this side this way, and I just measured the center to the center of the slit. Okay, and I ironed it. Make sure to iron properly. Now we're going to go ahead and start pleating. So I'm going to take the center of this place. Okay, this place that I've ironed, I am going to fold it in like so to come and meet the center here. And then I'm going to fold it in like so, and I'll iron it. Do the same thing here too. Your ironing will be your friend in this place. So I'm folding it to meet the center here, basically making it equal, and folding this side here, and then you can iron. So the wall socket is far from the table, so I had to unplug the iron and bring it to the table so I can show us the whole process of the ironing. Okay, so this, we have 2 pleats like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and do more pleats to it, and to do that, what I'm going to do is take this one again, the one on top again, fold it in again to come to the center, the same way we did the initial one. Bring it down here as well, and fold it. This is the first one. Anyone you do it, you iron. And I'm going to do the second one. Take the ironing mark is going to guide you to show you where the center is. So you just take the center and fold it in like so, and this is it. Now this place has been reduced. I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. So I'm just going to take the upper one, fold it in to the center, fold it in this direction to the center as well. And then this is it. Iron it. I'll take the last one, fold it in to come to the center again. Fold this one as well, this side. Now at the end of the day, look at what you have. I have reduced everything I have to this, and so we have like how many pleats? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pleats on one side. Okay, so the more fabric you have, the more the pleats. So I'm just going to go ahead and iron it properly. Okay, now this is it. So what I'm going to do now is overlock it here. Now for you to top stitch it here, make sure to do it exactly where you stopped, where the slit stopped. Okay, now the thing is about for this one, what I'm going to do is I don't want the sewing at the back to show. So I am going to be opening it. I will sew on my seam allowance. I'm going to sew on the seam allowance on this side, and then I open up this side and sew on the seam allowance again, and then steam it. Use your steam iron to iron it properly. Then you can lose out the stitch at the back to reveal the pleated slit. And so I've sewn here. Look at it, is attached, the pleater, but I'm yet to sew this one, so I'm going to go ahead and sew this one too here. Okay, see, I've sewn the other side. You can see the sewing allowance. I only sewed on the sewing allowance. Okay, now if you don't mind the sewing lines showing at the back on your own, what you have to do is just go ahead and top stitch on it like this, straight on the body. But I did this to leave it like this. I don't want the whole line showing at the back. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and lose the the stitch I made at the back here. Okay, so here, and this is the pleat. So, and this is it. When you cover it, this is what you have. You have the back like so. So now we've done that. Now that we have completed the slit, I'm going to go ahead and sew the zipper. So I'm going to sew the zipper, and then I will join the shoulder of the and join the shoulders to that of the front pattern. And then for the sleeve, so I have to cut out the lining piece as well for the sleeve. Okay, so but I made the lining piece to be like half an inch shorter than the main fabric. I'm going to go ahead and sew the lining, and then I'll turn it out and sew the body. And here I've sewn it. I've sewn the sleeve. So this is what I am trying to do. Sew it to keep it clean like so. So you can iron it out, and then I'm going to go ahead and fold it like so and sew it from the lining piece or from the main fabric, whichever. So I'm going to go ahead and sew it like so. Sew it like this to reveal a clean sleeve, like I have done for this one. Look at this. So I've gone ahead to sew the sides. So you sew with half of an inch here, and then when you get close to the sleeve, to the armhole, you can use your 1 inch sewing allowance. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is turn it inside out. This is it. So this is the sleeve opening from here for the armhole, and this is the end of the sleeve, like so. Look at this. You can go ahead and iron this, and this is our sleeve. Now when you open it inside out, you will see that it's clean both from the inside and the outside. So when you wear the dress, this place that is going to be extended will not be showing rough sewing or any kind of allowance. This is inseam finishing for the sleeve. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and attach this to the body of the dress. I've attached the zipper. I've sewn the zipper, and so now we're going to be sewing the sides. But before we join the sides, it's time for the wrapper illusion. Now for this wrapper illusion, of course, you will not decide where you want it to start. Do you want it to start from your waist, from the upper waist, or you want it to start from your hip, wherever you want to put your wrapper illusion. I'm going to also take out this excess from the waistline. I'm going to start from lower part of the waist, from 3 inches away from the waistline, from the waist joining. That's where I'm going to start my pleat, so that when I fold it in, it will go this direction. So I'm starting like so. Pin, pleats, pin. I'm going to go ahead and sew it first to make it one piece with the front piece before I can now fold it down like so and join the sides. Okay, I have sewn it. I've sewn the sides with 1.5 inch down. That's the sewing allowance. Okay, so next I am going to be attaching the sleeve. So I'm going to zip this place open. This is the sleeve. So you're just going to take one part of the sleeve. Okay, take the joining at the sleeve here. I'm going to pass it through the under here. So I'm going to go ahead and sew, and I'll attach the other sleeve as well, and then we will now arrange the pleats of the wrapper illusion. So here I've sewn the armhole. So I'm going to turn it inside out now, and I'll iron it. So this is it, and this is the dress is ready. Now I'm going to be rearranging this pleat. Okay, now for this pleat, now I want it to come from down like so and come up like this and stay here. Okay, so I'm going to arrange the pleats and I'm going to pin it. So this is the pleat. I'm just going to keep rearranging the pleats the way I pleated it on the other side. I'm going to be using this press button. I'm going to be tacking one part of it here, exactly where I want it to be, and then I'm going to wear this on my body, and wherever it's most comfortable on me, that's where I'm going to sew this one. So when I wear it, I'm just going to go ahead and pin it, and this will be the way it looks on the body. I'm going to do that, and then I'll try it on and show us the finished work. If at this point, guys, you have not subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Also, feel free to share this video. I'd really implore you to share it so that this community can grow. Don't forget to check back for our next sewing tutorial. See you guys and have a beautiful week. Bye.